What's holding you back that isn't real? In my head, there's a lot of things that are holding me back. There are so many excuses. There are always things to blame. There's always an easier path to take. Whenever you're reaching for a goal or you're working towards a dream, something that sort of matters to you, I have a way of, I suppose, taking the pressure away from myself because otherwise it feels like it's my fault, which in reality it still is. But that's uncomfortable. Facing that fact is uncomfortable. Knowing that you could, but you didn't, hurts way more than saying that, oh, I couldn't possibly have done X, Y, and Z because I was tired or because I didn't get, I don't know, insert random excuse here, like the promotion I didn't get, the time I needed, I didn't get the freedom that I needed in order to pursue my goals. I didn't get enough sleep last night. I didn't get the perfect workout. I didn't get, I don't know. You tell me what you didn't get, but that's at least how it is for me most of the time. My mind has a great way of finding every excuse imaginable instead of just facing that I didn't reach my goal because I didn't put the work in, which in 9 cases out of 10 is the reason why. So when I ask myself what's actually holding me back, I have to sort of filter through all of the good excuses, all of the excuses that I want to believe in, but that aren't really true. Because in reality, the one thing that I've found that consistently holds me back is me. It's myself. It's either a mindset problem, it's it's a work ethic problem, an energy problem, or a prioritization problem. And almost all of them can be solved through basic measures, really. Because all that I have to ask myself is what do I want? Becoming specific on the type of goal or direction that I want to go in. Maybe it's that I want to lose weight, that I want to gain muscle, that I want to earn more money, that I want to recover better. There's so many different goals that you can have, but I know that a lot of them are hindered by a lack of clarity. Is that I have a picture in my head of what I want, which is like me in a mansion or like chilling on a beach or on a yacht somewhere, but that isn't really specific and it's also not easily attainable in my current state anyway. So it sort of becomes this wishy washy. I want this, but I don't know how. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Like everything else around it becomes weird, diffused, sort of intangible in a way. So that's number one, is to ask, what do I want? And become extremely clear on that. Even if that just means I want to work out every day for 5 days straight. Like, that's a goal. Very manageable, very doable. You can basically figure out intuitively how to get that done. Because after you have the what, then you get to sort of two other points, which is the why and the how. And so I think that the why is more important, because once you understand the why, the how becomes almost effortless. Because if you know the what, you know exactly what you want. You have your goal written down, like very clearly. I want a six pack. Okay, why do I want a six pack? Because I want to feel proud of my body, because maybe I want to show off to other people. I want to prove those people who called me fat wrong. I wouldn't blame you for saying that, because that's been my motivation for a lot of the time. And you can go like almost go too deep on this is much better than not doing it, because if you don't understand the why, you won't feel motivated to do it, and you won't understand how to motivate yourself to keep going. Say, for an example, you know that you want a six pack, but you don't know why. You know that it's like something that everyone else around you wants. So you figure that maybe I want it too. Like, I also want a six pack because that's what everyone else seems to be obsessed with. And so you start working out, then you get a couple days in, and then you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I suffering for a six pack? Why? And you never figure out the answer because you don't know your why. You don't know the actual reason of why you want to do the thing, why you want to go through the work that you're gonna have to get through in order to reach your goal. So that's why the why is important. When you have a strong why, you know that the mother that called me fat all those years ago, I want to prove them wrong. I want to see the look on their faces when they see the transformation that I've made. I want that. Like, that's what I want. That's why I want this. It becomes different. Your goal almost becomes this spiral of just self motivation, because when you fall off, then you start to think about, okay, but what would the people who called me fat say when you eat the donuts? They'll bring up the memories of what they used to tell you, and it'll sort of spur you on even more. Be like, I will never let them tell me that again. And then you keep going. It sort of keeps you motivated. Or if you want a six pack because you want to feel proud of your body, that becomes your motivation. That becomes your why. When you think about, oh, the workouts, they're so difficult. They feel like shit. It feels like I'm not making any progress. But then you think to yourself, how did I feel before I started? I was fat, I was ugly, I felt miserable, and I never want to feel that way again. Okay, will the work get you there? Will the work change this? Yes. That means you keep going. So this is why the why is important. And once you have the why, the how becomes almost effortless. Because you can almost just think about, what have I been doing? that isn't working, that isn't getting me to my goals, and what do I have to do in order to get there? What do I have to change? What do I have to adjust? What do I have to decrease? And what do I have to increase? For that six pack, it would be increase the workouts, decrease the food. Simple as that. But there are numerous ways of actually accomplishing the same goal. You can get a six pack by fasting, or you could get a six pack by eating almost more than you are currently, but working out 4 or 5 times as hard. Now, they'll get you similar results, but the process is very different. And so, this is sort of a personal thing that you're gonna have to figure out and sort of experiment with, I suppose. You're gonna have to mix things up and see what works for you and what doesn't. For me, for an example, waking up at 4 a.m. is perfect. Having a structured morning makes me feel better. And if I work out first thing in the morning, I can't go back. I can't undo my workout at 5 p.m. in the evening. So that means that if I just do it, I can never regret it. But if I do it later in the evening, I'm way more likely to skip. I'm 10 times more likely to skip. And instead of working out for 5 or 6 days a week, I work out for 2 or 3 with mediocre intensity at best. So that's what works for me. But I also have things like habit stacking, where in my evening routine, which before has been sort of this jumbled mess where I try to incorporate things, but they never seem to work. I've started layering my habits to be like, okay, I get home, I have dinner, then I do my brain dump for 6 minutes, just write everything down, clear my head. Once that's done, I take my vitamins. Now that I've got my vitamins, I sit down, I record, I do this. Once this is done, in an ideal state, I would meditate. Now I've slowly realized that maybe that isn't realistic with my current schedule, and since I'm already skipping it 9 days out of 10, I'm changing it to be okay. I'm just gonna sit down and close my eyes for 2 minutes because it's so small and it's so easy that it will at least give me a baseline. It'll be a tiny habit that I can build off of later, and I can do 3 minutes if I want to, or 4 minutes. And maybe in the future, I can get to my dream of actually doing like 10, 15, 20 minutes of meditation after this to really sort of calm my brain down. But that's an ideal world. And I know that in my instance, it's like my energy levels and my schedule are the limiting factors of me accomplishing this consistently. While, yes, you could argue that if I just was more disciplined, I probably could. And you're right, I probably could be, but I don't want to be too hard on myself, and I want this sort of routine to be enjoyable for myself as well. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go too far in the other direction and make my life miserable either. So yeah. Anyway, I think I may have strayed a bit far off topic, but ask yourself this question of what's holding you back that isn't real? What are the excuses that you're making to yourself that are in reality not true, that are, that are fiction, they're not real? What excuses do you think hold you back? but aren't really. Just sit with that for a minute and see what you come up with. See whether some of the things that you tell yourself are actually just sort of comforting lies. Like I know that I've given myself far too many times. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.